Hey, what's up everyone? It's your girl Brand Shanae, and today I'm going to be finally doing a book review that a lot of you have asked me if I was going to do or not. So, of course, the book review that I'm going to be doing that's way overdue is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. So, stay tuned.
Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day, I'm gonna make something.
Alright, now we're back. So, today I'm doing a review about Stranger Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And as you can see, I annotated it. This is the first book that I've annotated because based on something that I wanted to do when it wasn't for school or anything like that. So that was definitely good. And basically, since I annotated it, everyone should know that this book is very good and it has a lot of details that you definitely should annotate because there's some things that you probably won't remember right off the bat, so it's good to always have it annotated, especially with a book that has a lot of information, a lot of detail, extraordinary writing, very lyrical too, and whimsical, which I really love about this book. Now, I will say I'm glad that I really finally picked up this book and read it. Because of course this is a fantasy book, and okay, just to let you know, I'm not going to spoil this for you. That's why it might not be a long review, because if it's a long review, I might do some spoilers, and I do not want to do that, and I do not want to ruin someone else's experience to reading this book. So first off, I would like to say the main character, his name is Laszlo, and he's an orphan, and he doesn't remember anything about his past or anything of that nature. And so with that, he ends up being with monks, and they call him Laszlo Strange or whatever, due to the fact that usually when someone is an orphan and in that community of monks, they call them strange. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yes, and so while he was at this monastery with the monks or whatever, he was very intrigued by this city that a monk recently had talked to him about, and he called it Weep, but the monk said that's not really the real name, and I don't remember the real name. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Laszlo started having pretty much like these dreams. I wouldn't say dreams, but he started mesmerizing and like going like, so he was like obsessed with this city, this unknown city, and for some reason, like when you read it, it feel like, why is he so obsessed with this city? What is so great about Weep? And Weep is W-E-E-P, Weep, the city Weep. And then soon he started just reading up on it, and he was more interested in like the warriors, like they're called Tizarkane, which were the warriors that was in Weep, and he would just pretend he was, he was a warrior. And of course he got in trouble with it, and yeah, and so he was pretty much not allowed to do any of that fun stuff, of course, as a kid should do. But then he winds up becoming a librarian and learning more and studying the dialect and the language of Weep, which is very interesting for someone that doesn't know anything about the city. They just want to be a part of it in some shape or form. And so he started reading and became a librarian, which is super cool because I want to be a librarian, which I could, but since I have a history degree and all that. But anyway, back to this. But with this book, or with Laszlo, he has the opportunity to go to Weep. But as he goes to Weep, he start learning things about the city and the people of Weep and everything along with it. And then as they're traveling to Weep, which takes months and months of a time, you also meet Sarai. Sarai is another main character in this book. Now, she is a goddess. Or a god, they call it, or a child of a goddess, which they call God Spawn. G-O-D-S-P-A-W-N, God Spawn. And she has, and she lives with other characters who are also pretty much the main characters. You have Minya, who is a God Spawn. You have Pharaoh, you have Sparrow, you have Ruby, and they're all living together in this big, huge, like, it's like made out of rock, some type of matter, and it's called Martheum. And so with that, Sarai, and with all these God Spawns, they all have gifts. Minya is one that can control ghosts and take their spirit, pretty much. You have Pharaoh, who can control the clouds and everything like that. Ruby, she can heat things up, fire, all that good stuff. Then you have Sparrow, who can grow things. And then last but not least, you have Sarai, which I think she is definitely the most interesting character out of all of them, but they're all interesting in their own way. And with Sarai, she has the ability to go into people's dreams, but she's mostly called the Muse of Nightmares due to the fact of what one of her, the people that one of the gods spun wants her to do. But I don't want to say too much about this book. I'm going to base it off of how I felt about this book when I read it. I will say at the beginning it was a little bit long, but it's understandable why the book was so slow, because there was so much information that you just had to take in all at once. And so as you finally go past at least the first 100 pages, it gets very, very interesting really fast. And then you start having more knowledge of everything, as far as Laszlo and Sarai and everything of that nature. And then you have Errol Fane, who could be considered the God Slayer. And then you have his wife Azarine. But I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars due to the fact that this was a great book. It was slow, yes, but it was worth it being slow at the beginning because there's so much information. Once again, really a lot of information where I really would recommend you annotating the books, especially Muse of Nightmares. Once you read this, or if you do want to read it, you should definitely annotate it, as long as with the Muse of Nightmares that just came out this month. So yes, I rated this a 5 out of 5 stars. If I give it more than 5, I really would, because it was really great. The world building was great. I will say that I really wanted more understanding and more personality within the characters. We get to know the personality of Laszlo, Sarai, and some of Minya and Pharaoh and Sparrow and all that. But I feel like I wanted the deeper connection, just a little bit. But there was a great connection, like I said, with Laszlo and Sarai, which is great. Of course, it's typical that there is type of romance going on, but I'm a sucker for romance, so I'm happy about that. And the mystery is what got me, because there's so much things that you had questions of, especially since Laszlo is orphan, you really wonder who are Laszlo's parents. I know probably there are some people that read that probably thought that Errol Fane, who is the God Slayer in this book, thought he might have been his father, and so on and so forth, and but we do not know. So it was very mysterious, and to finding out who was Laszlo's parents, and his role, and why was he so obsessed with this city weep. And then when you read this, you understand why, and it's like, oh my gosh, are you serious? It's like this book is just mind-blowing for real. And it's just I really loved it. And it's not even historical fiction, but it felt like historical fiction because it deals with gods and goddesses, which is like mythology, like Greek mythology in a way, because you find out the meaning of these gods. And a lot of these gods that are mentioned in this book is sort of close to Greek mythology in a way, which I really fell in love with, and that made me connect to this book and the characters even more. Sorry, that's my son in the background, he's playing. But yes, I don't know what to say. I know people don't like historical fiction, and it's not historical fiction, it's fantasy. But the elements in the book is really whimsical, it's lyrical, and there's mythology, Greek mythology, or at least anything to do with gods. I immediately go to Greek mythology, and it was just very interesting. There was some characters that they could have been more building, but they weren't really that important in this book at the time. So I definitely, like I said, would give this a 5 out of 5 stars. I'll read the back for you so that you get a gist of what it is. I know I didn't do a full review of what the book is about, but I don't want to get everything away because I want you to have the opportunity to read it, and you tell me what you think about the book. So it says, the dream chooses the dreamer. Laszlo Strange, war orphan and junior librarian, has been obsessed with the mythic lost city of Wheat for as long as he can remember, but it would take someone bolder than he to cross half the world in search of it. Then a stunning opportunity presents itself in the person of a hero called the God Slayer and a band of legendary warriors, and he And of course, the God Slayer is Arrowfane. And then the band of legendary warriors, those are the Tizarkane, which I told you he was pretty much acting as when he was a kid at the monastery with the monks. He was acting like he was a Tizarkane warrior from Weep. But anyway, it says, and he has to seize his chance or lose his dream forever. What happened in Weep 200 years ago to cut it off from the rest of the world? What exactly did the God Slayer slay that went by the name of God? The answers await in Weep, but so do more mysteries, including the blue-skinned goddess who appears in Laszlo's dreams. How did he dream of her before he knew she existed? In this sweeping and breathtaking novel by National Book Award finalist Laini Taylor, the shadow of the past is as real as the ghosts who haunt the citadel of murdered gods. Fall into a mythical world of dread and wonder, moths and nightmares, love and carnage. Welcome to Weep. So yes, I can't say this enough. This is a great book. I really feel like you should definitely read it. If you don't like fantasy, look at it in a different perspective, as well as necessarily it doesn't have to be fantasy. Like, this book has so much options as far as saying it's a fantasy, because yes, the book might not, the world or the city might not be real, but you can imagine it being a real city, because in history there have been cities like this where a lot of things happen. Like, you have Pompeii, like randomly, like out of nowhere, it's just covered in ash because of a volcano that erupted that wasn't supposed to erupt at all, and everything just, you know, it's just mysteries like that, and that's what I really loved about this book. And so I do want to get the hardcover of this book. I really wanted to, because the hardcover is so pretty. This is beautiful too, don't get me wrong, but I really would like the hardcover. I didn't want to get the hardcover when I really wanted this book, because it wasn't in the funds. And I think you understand, all of you understand what I'm talking about, when you really are pushing your budget when it comes to books, and everyone knows that paperbacks are cheaper than the hardcover. But I do planning on getting the hardcover eventually, but this is definitely something that I definitely would hold on to, and who knows, I might let somebody else read it, keep the annotations, and they could, you know, write in it as well, because there are some points where I did write in the book and everything. I know some people do not like that, but this book was meant to be annotated. Like, I even did that with the title and everything. So I really wrote in the book, like literally wrote in it. But it was definitely fun. And if I let somebody else read it and they annotate it as well and they see what I wrote, I think it's even more fun. It's fun. But I really hope you enjoy this mini review / ramble going on. But I really love this book. And also, if you want me to do a Muse of Nightmares review, I'll be glad to do that for you. But I might go ahead and do that anyway. But thank you guys. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button and that bell so that you'll be notified when I upload more videos in the future. But thank you so much, you guys. And if you have already read this, please tell me down below what you thought of this book. It doesn't matter if it's bad or good. I really want to know what you feel and how you felt when you read this book. But thank you so much, you guys. See ya.